training rides, ride-alongs, and be there for them to get new people in and secure that and maintain that. Thank you.
I gave you the pay part already just a little while ago. I didn't know this was the next question. But my thing is leadership. You know, a lot of officers are leaving because of leadership. That was my main reason for leaving. My wife was making very good money at the VA. I didn't need to leave because of the money. I had a beautiful house, had a nice car, everything was good. You know, you got to lead from the front. You know, you need a guy that comes in there with you every day. And if you have a sheriff that looks you in the eyes and is willing to get in the trenches with you, and you believe in him, and he is going to county commissioner meetings and fighting for every penny you need, or he is out there working or having the captains fill in when you're short, whether it's in the jail and civil, wherever, whatever department it is, and you get it out there, and you have your whole command staff leading, and you lead, the retention rate would be astonishing, I guarantee you. Not everybody chases the dollar. You know, you don't become a cop to think you're going to have a house on Lake Norman with the Porsche in the driveway. No one ever here has. I mean, if you did, you're sorely wrong. But you do want to have a good career, and you want somebody to have your back. And I will do that. And from my captains to my chief deputy, they'll be beside you. And if you have somebody that can look you in the eye and say, I got your back, I'll be right beside you through hell and high water, you won't leave. You'll stay with that man if you know he's fighting for you. And that's what I'll do. Thank you.
Recruitment is an issue throughout North Carolina, whether it's Cabarrus County Sheriff's Office, the State Highway Patrol, or Charlotte-Mecklenburg PD. One of the reasons is it's not a very popular career to enter into right now. Part of that is reflected in there is a 54% decrease in the number of young men and women that are applying and attending basic law enforcement training that's taught in our community colleges. And that's where we get a lot of our recruits. But that's the case everywhere. People are hiring people and losing more than they're hiring. And yes, it's a multifaceted problem. It does deal with leadership, good, strong leadership. It does deal with money and benefits. Those are absolutely a big part of it. It also deals with making sure that you have an environment where employees are valued, their input is valued, and they respect the men and women that supervise and lead them. As far as pay is concerned, I know there's great things going on right now. There's a proposed budget out there that officers will receive anywhere from approximately an 8% all the way up to somewhere around 16 or 18% increase this year. That's the work that's been done at the Sheriff's Department over the past year and working with the county commissioners. My thing is, I would love to see a strategic plan that spans 3 to 5 years. So we're not getting into the position where we're having to recoup. So we've got to work together in order to come up with a strategic plan, create a good environment, and do what we can for the officers to make their day-to-day jobs easier, and we'll get people in the door. Thank you.
Cabarrus County, in particular the Sheriff's Department, addressing the opioid crisis right now, and what changes, if any, would you implement? And please be specific. Adam?
Sorry. I believe the men and women in this county are doing the best they can to address it, but honestly, you come in 3 or 4 short on a squad on night shift, what are you really going to do? Other than answer calls and chase your tail. We need to get the staffing up. When the staffing's up, you can address the crisis. Your response times will be down. You know, everything can work like it should in harmony. But the fact of the matter is, we're short. So to answer your question, I don't know what they're doing now. I think the guys are doing all they can, but I think their hands are kind of tied as far as addressing the crisis, because you come in 3 or 4 short on a squad, you know, you can do what you can, but it's an officer safety issue. You don't want to go out here and stop somebody in the middle of the night. I mean, I enjoy doing it, and every one of us, a lot of you guys here have, but, you know, your backup's 20 minutes away. I mean, you gotta be careful. You gotta look out for yourself and your family, as well as the community. What I would do is I'm gonna start the ACE team. A lot of y'all heard it, y'all read it in the paper, it's the Aggressive Criminal Enforcement Team. We're gonna disperse a couple of divisions and make it to where everybody, no one's getting fired or getting everything. We're just gonna move some positions around. And we're gonna start Aggressive Criminal Enforcement Team. We work great in Iredell County, works in Buncombe, works in Henderson County. I know the sheriff's there, I know the lieutenants there that are over it. They're gonna concentrate on high crime areas. They're gonna do saturation patrol. They're gonna do highway drugs and street level interdiction. They're gonna work school zones. It's gonna be a multifaceted division, and they're gonna report directly to the command staff, and that's how I'm gonna combat it. I give kudos to the guys working short staff, and I know they're doing all they can, so there you go.
As far as the opioid epidemic, what we're doing now and what I would do differently, I currently serve on the opioid task force for Cabarrus County. It is of great concern. In 2017, we had 26 overdose deaths related to opioid abuse and heroin abuse. In 2016, we had 163 emergency room visits directly related to opioid overdose. That number increased to 418 in 2017. The numbers currently in Cabarrus County, because we did hit #1 for the state, the numbers currently still put us in the top 10. So we're a little bit better, but I get concerned when I see that we've got more people arriving at the emergency room for an overdose than Guilford County does. So there's plenty of work there to do. We're working with Cabarrus Health Alliance. We're working with our community partners, our community paramedics, our mental health task force to make sure that we're doing all we can on the treatment side, program side. And we've got to be aggressive on the drug distribution side as well. We've got to disrupt criminal drug operations. There's no doubt about it. We've been doing that, and we've been sending people to federal prison. What I can promise you I would keep doing is I would keep doing what we're doing now. We're fighting the good fight. Our officers carry Narcan that assists with overdose reversals so that people's lives are saved. So we're not going to get out of this problem overnight. It's a nationwide problem, but I can tell you in Cabarrus County there's a large number of people working together in a collaborative way to solve this problem. Thank you.
Please check your phones and make sure your phones are turned off, at least on vibrate, please. Thank you.
I think a good start is analytics. If you look at all your sports teams now, they're using analytical data to go in and they draft their players. They create their game day lineups based off of analytics. There's a lot of analytical software out there that's available. It's from the CDC, some of it's through grant money. And basically what this software does is once an overdose occurs, the first responders enter that information and it creates a hotspot map. And then when you go in there, you can see exactly where the overdoses are occurring. That draws your attention to that area. You can step up enforcement. You can go in and try to figure out, is there a new dealer in town? What's going on with it? And then that'll give you the opportunity to possibly make arrests and charge dealers and users. In addition to that, I think it starts with education, outreach to the community, making sure that everybody understands what the crisis is. The CDC right now says it's a 30% increase across the nation. Some states are experiencing over 100% increase. And basically educating the people. And the interesting thing about that statistics also is that 40 people nationwide a day overdose on opioids, and they're actually prescription opioids. They're not illegal. So doctors are a problem too with the way they prescribe the medication. So I think reaching out to that community, talking to the medical people, working with them, in addition to maintaining the task force that the Sheriff's Office currently has in place. I think that's very, very important. Thank you.
With all the recent school shootings, what policy do you feel should be implemented by the Sheriff's Department? And we'll start with Candy and Shelley.
Could you read that one more time?
Sure. With all the recent school shootings, what policies do you feel should be implemented by the Sheriff's Department?
There's a lot that is being done right with our school safety and school violence in general. We have wonderful men and women that are SROs all across this county. We're very fortunate that there's SROs at every school in this county, with the exception of a couple of non-traditional schools at the community college. I do believe that we've got to make sure that our officers have the equipment they need to respond to an active shooter. And specifically, they need to be armed with a patrol rifle. We do not have any of our officers currently at the schools that are armed with AR-15s or law enforcement related rifle. It's a critical component. Long hallways, they're up against those types of weapons. We've got to do something about that and get those in the hands. Yes, they're not going to always be available because they're locked up. My position is, if 50% of the time that officer, that school resource officer, is not going to be able to get to that AR, I'll take the 50% of the time that he can get to it. I'd rather have it there, available, secured, but at least available, so that at least a percentage of the time that they could do that. So we've got to look at those policies. We've got to also look at the fact that we're going to be building 2 new schools. Architecturally, are we doing everything we can to make that school less susceptible to violence, to an attack? We also have to look at our existing buildings and what can we do to harden those facilities beyond what's already done. Thank you very much.
I think what we need to do is we need to strengthen the SRO program that we have in place. Currently, the SROs that are there, they are doing a great job, but I think we need to expand on that. They all need to be trained on a national level. They all need to have the equipment that puts them in position to be able to protect our schools. We need de-escalation training to be part of that. I saw a video where a law enforcement officer had gone on the national news and gone into a classroom and it's full of students and had the teacher standing there, and the law enforcement officer removed that student, flipped him upside down on the desk and carried him out. And I asked myself the question, you know, de-escalation training, the first thing you do is, if you had a student that was misbehaving in class, would be to remove his audience. Would be to take all the students out and then remove the teacher from the class. And then ask for somebody else to step in and witness any activity that you have, and then sit down and maybe have a conversation with them, figure out what's going on. Maybe something's going on at home that you don't know about. But I think having that relationship with the community, having it with the school officials, working with the teachers, I think that's very, very important. And I think a selection process should be in place for selected SROs. Now, I'm not talking about coming in and changing the current SROs that we have. I know in the past, a lot of the SROs that were there were just put there because they were close to the end of their career, and they were stuck there to draw their time so they could get their pension. But I think selecting people that want to be there, that enjoy going there and working in that environment with kids and teachers every day is very, very important. Thank you.
To keep our school safe, do I think teachers need guns? No. Just for the mere fact, when I was in high school, I could bench 300 pounds. There's a lot of other kids that were in there that can overtake teachers. They're not trained in weapon retention. But what I would like to see implemented would be lock boxes around the school. And this would take a little while, but you put strategic areas in the school, whether it be 5 areas, 4 areas, whatever, 10, I don't know, whatever. I mean, just, we'd have to look at it. But you put guns in lock boxes, you train X amount of teachers, whether that be 5, 10 teachers, and you train them in target recognition. You know, they'd have to go through some specific training. But to me, kids are going to start getting smarter. I mean, these are cowards, not kids or men that want to go do school shootings. What are they going to do? They're going to walk up, in my opinion, they're going to start walking up to a school resource officer before they can say anything and pop. Pop him first. Now what? Now you got nobody here. Now there's no weapons, there's no guns. Tactically, that's what I would do if I was going to invade a school. People are going to start catching on to that, I think. So you need to have other people that are equipped to combat it. Because everyone knows the statistics. I think it's 97% once they're confronted either kill themselves or do the officer, suicide by an officer. But it's not something that we need to take lightly. And we got good officers here that can train them. That program that Elwood and Klingel Smith are on that they just need to be trained in the target recognition. And I believe that we need guns in there, but they don't need to carry them on their person. And that's about my stance on that.
About a week or so ago, I put on Facebook asking for questions from the public, and we received a bunch. And I took this one straight from a response from Facebook. Describe your law enforcement managerial experience. What is the largest number of employees you have ever managed or supervised, and what was your job position? And where were you employed? There are over 300 Sheriff's Department employees. How would you approach managing a workforce of that many employees? Rick Barrett, you're first.
My past experience is I supervised 16 troopers, and basically I was a sergeant then. And I went out and worked the road with them. I spent time with them training, going over equipment logs, different events that they encountered, day to day on their job. I got promoted to first sergeant, and I sat in Raleigh. And I didn't directly supervise anybody, although I basically looked at all the protests that were done throughout the state by all the motor carrier enforcement guys. And that, I had contact with each and every one of them, and when a protest would occur, I would have to reach out with them, find out exactly what their side of it was. I would have to look at all the rules and regulations that were applicable, do all the interviews, and then make a decision. And a lot of times, through that process, when the trooper on the roadside wrote that violation to the motor carrier, they were very, very passionate about what they had done. And it was one of those things to where it became a negotiation. We had to sit down and talk about, hey, here's the rules and regulations, here's the guidelines. And so I supervised quite a few people, sometimes directly, sometimes indirectly. I think that leadership by example, it's not do as I say, but it's get out there and do. I think loyalty is huge over obedience. I think loyalty is a two-way street. If you develop that, it's not one of these things where you go out and you tell people, hey, this is what you're going to do, and you're going to do it. It's about developing a relationship and building loyalty. And I think you could get the most out of your people. Thank you.
I was never a direct supervisor, but I did. Oh, sorry about it. Stop my time, Lord. But I was never a direct supervisor, but I did fill in when Scott Mason and Brian Berg got hurt. They got hurt almost simultaneously, and so the answer to that would be 8 on A squad. The last year I was there. I'll tell you what, it's nothing like managing 27 restaurant employees, though. That's way worse than the 8 officers that I had, man. I'll tell you, it's way worse doing it at a restaurant. But 8's the number I got. That's all I do. I mean, this is a good question. I do have leadership abilities, though. It's not just how you lead or what position you're in. I mean, it's your qualities. I've had lieutenants, captains, call me for advice. I've had people come to me, I mean, morally, whether it's personal or whether it's a wreck, whatever. I've had people come to me. So I think I've led a lot of people. So officially it's 8, but I think I've led hundreds because I've stood up and I've helped people with their careers. I've answered questions, and I've done a lot of things for a lot of officers out there, and that's not always what it appears on paper. So I am a good leader, and I'll continue to do that with the 355 people we have here. Thank you.
The position that I held that supervised the most people was that of Deputy Director of the State Bureau of Investigation. Obviously, it's a statewide agency. We had over 500 employees spread from Manio all the way out to Murphy. That's a challenging task in and of itself. Law enforcement officers are out there inherently working on their own. We give them great trust. So we've got to also have and develop great leaders that work alongside of those officers. When I was at the State Bureau of Investigation, I was blessed to have strong leaders that helped me each and every day to make sure that we met the mission. We met that mission within the budget we were given, and we carried out everything that we needed to do to be lawfully correct. And it was a very diverse agency that did a number of things. At the Cabarrus County Sheriff's Department, I'll do the same thing. I'll have a staff of very experienced command people. People that know their job, have years of service, and can carry out that job each and every day effectively. And that's what it takes in order to be able to make sure that the employees are doing what you need them to do when you need them to do it. And if you do that and you're fair and you're respectful and you're lawful, they'll understand it and they get it. So it's critically important to develop leaders as we go through, because they're our frontline people. Each one of those people is a responsibility of the sheriff. Every action those people take, the sheriff is ultimately liable, because each one of those is a deputy of the sheriff. And I do not take that lightly. Thank you.
The next 2 years are critically important for our country, the next several years through 2020. We have midterm elections coming up, and of course the presidential election in 2020. If one of you were to win the primary and then go on to win the sheriff's race in November, what do you see your relationship with the Republican Party as being in the next several years? And Adam?
Relationship with y'all, I want to continue building on it. I think honesty, transparency with the Republican Party is where we need to be with everybody. And like Landy said, there's been more rumors and things floating around about him and me and Jennifer and everyone else that you know, we need to put a stop to it. We all need to come together, and it's time we unite. We're all three good candidates, in my opinion. And, you know, whichever one wins this in May, we need to all get behind, and we need to come and do it. I mean, and that's all there is to it. So I look forward to coming to more of the debates. I don't know if my wife will come anymore, because she goes to some women's things with y'all all the time, and it's driving me crazy babysitting. Paying babysitters more, I should say, breaking me. But so I'm going to back her back a little bit, and I'll start coming more. But no, I think we just need to unite. We have three good candidates up here, or yeah, three, and we just need to come together and then just keep moving forward, and keep the values that Mr. Shaw, Mr. Barrett, and myself mentioned about the Republican Party and what it stands for, and just move forward together, and that's the only way. Thank you.
My relationship with the Republican Party after being elected in November would be to continue to be very involved. It is important that we all work together, that we provide checks and balances for each other. The Republican Party is the dominant party in Cabarrus County. The Republican Party is in charge of county government. We've got to work together on all aspects of that so that we're able to accomplish what we need for the citizens of Cabarrus County. I've been to the meetings. I know that those elected officials attend those meetings, they're involved, and I commit to you that I will attend those meetings, be involved, and be a voice for the citizens of Cabarrus County. Thank you.
As I started this sheriff's race, I told everybody I'm not a politician, and a lot of you could tell that. Basically, I think it's important to build a relationship with the Republican Party. I'm trying to do that. I've met a lot of good people since I've been doing this campaign, and I will continue to do that. Once the dominant candidate emerges from the primary, then I think it's important to build those relationships. It will be important to continue those. It is paramount for all the citizens and everybody involved. Thank you.
All right, we're almost finished here. A couple more questions to go. All right, what role do you feel the sheriff should have in issuing gun permits and carry concealed permits? We'll start with Kendit Shaw.
Under the current system, most of you know, to get a gun permit to purchase or to get a concealed carry permit, you go through a process at the Sheriff's Department. I want to see that process continue. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. Are there times that there's long waits? Absolutely. There's high volume. But there's also times that there's not high volume. So it's tough to be responsible in hiring employees that 6 months out of the year you can keep busy, but you can't the others. But I do believe in that process. I believe we've got to ensure that we've got responsible gun ownership through education and training, and that's what our current system does. I'm an advocate of the Second Amendment, no doubt about it. I have been my whole life. I've been around guns, hunting and fishing my entire life, okay? And I'll go ahead and say before this group, it's the same thing with the Class 3 issue. I don't have a problem signing on the Class 3 issue. If the individuals meet the federal background checks and meet the criteria, then absolutely, I don't have a problem with that. That's currently being done. It's a very limited scope idea, but for some people it's a very important idea. But I do believe we need to keep that system in place until we have a better system. Because one of the problems with the federal NIC system, okay, that system that is used when you purchase a gun is it misses a lot of